All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Saiki K, Season 2, Episode 21. Let's get into more shenanigans.
Yes. We had a very risque episode last time.
Yes, I wasn't sure if I should mention it, and all that, but yeah. Ira, just what? Your parents aren't home, that's what you were calling about, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Last episode, very strong, good shenanigans. Really good utilization of the side characters as well. And Saiki's, kind of had this whole, kind of loop thing going on. And I feel like he should start, kind of figuring out a way to break that. Otherwise, we're going to be here forever.
Nah, this show could go on forever, and that's just fine.
It's the Calvin and Hobbes effect.
Exactly. Calvin will be 6 years old forever.
Sure.
Yep.
And there's an in-universe reason as to why Saiki will be constantly in this state.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well then, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. All right. Well, Chio, you tried. Good job.
Yeah.
I like that things still went in a pretty wholesome direction by the end of it.
Exactly. I legitimately loved those episodes, not just from the stance of the comedy, which was great. It was great comedy, but then also from the standpoint of the characters, because, yes, with a comedy series like this where it's all crazy antics, I do still love to see the characters grow and all that.
Yeah.
And
see them change a little bit.
Exactly.
It's not likely that anyone outside of I guess Saiki will not really change, but
the status quo will be maintained, but
everybody else will kind of retain their shticks, but Saiki will probably, by his own nature of growing and maybe more appreciation of his friends over time, they'll also change a little bit too.
Exactly, right. Or at the very least, how they relate to each other, because that's definitely been happening for Saiki, and here we get to see it happen with Shun and Chio.
Yes.
And I really appreciate it, because as far as the characters that I would be like seriously invested in, they're definitely up there on the list.
Yeah, Shun is Shun Kaido. He's probably, I would say, the
dark horse.
But he's also, I would say, like the best character, maybe even too. Like he's got the most stuff going for him in terms of like little different dynamics in the story.
The shticks of the characters in this show are so extreme that sometimes it can be difficult to get to the actual like serious aspects of the character because sometimes it can just get taken over by that, right? Reita is a great example.
Or Reita, yeah.
Like or Terahashi's brother, where it's just like, okay, they're the archetype and that's sort of what they are, right? And then but most of the time it's taking the shtick and then using that as the fuel for the character introspection with like Saiki or Terahashi or something like, or even Nendo, where it's the, I have this really sad stuff with, my dad or, that kind of thing. But being able to get it here where it's you have these two weirdos, right? And they both are fond of each other, but what's the way in which they're fond of each other? They're super awkward. They're not going to be able to communicate. It plays to all the tropes of like any kind of romantic subplot in a story like this, where it's not going to turn into a romance all of a sudden, right? No. But they're able to realize how much they care about each other, and that's great stuff.
Sweet. Yeah. Will it be followed up on? Who knows?
Maybe in another season, we'll get another breadcrumb,
possibly. And also Chio's just forgotten in general. So
yes, exactly.
But Aira and Terahashi meeting the grandparents steals the whole freaking episode for me. I love the idea that not only did they bump into each one respectively, but there's also a way in which it makes sense that Aira and the grandma would connect more than Teruhashi and the grandma would connect, because Teruhashi is kind of the perfect duplicitous one, which the grandpa is also kind of shows himself to be duplicitous, but he's perfectly in love with Saiki. And then you have, and he's also very judgy and stuff like that. Whereas Aira is fast, loose, and chaotic. Same with the grandma. So it's just...
And so, of course, they get along.
What the heck?
Yeah.
They're perfect. They're perfect for each other, actually.
It's to the point where now if there were to, like, in the same way that I would love for there to be follow-up on the Chio Shun stuff, but, you know, who knows if it's going to happen, I would love for there to be follow-up on that whole setup. Because can you imagine there being some situation where there's some, you know, some holiday or some family get-together or whatever,
holiday,
and then they're like, oh, they're both trying to, like, make sure that the person, to nudge the person. Yeah, exactly, where it's like, oh, what if we, you know, Grandpa's like, what if we invited that, you know, that cute Terahashi girl over, you know, like, she's such a good friend with you, Saiki, you know, grandson, you know, and then Grandma's just like, no, I'm hanging out with Ira, can she come too, you know, like...
so we're taking a trip over. Obviously, I invited Ira. It's like,
right, exactly.
How,
you know,
how could you?
Oh no! And it's like, what, she knows about your psychic powers and everything. There's, you know, it's not like that would change the dynamic of what's going on, right?
Like, yeah. That's also a really cool kind of thing that this episode just covered, was the idea that because Saiki spoke to each of them independently, telepathically, there was no like barriers that they had anymore after that.
Right.
It was then a thing of where it was like, wait a minute.
There's the knowing about Saiki's powers, and then there's the knowing that the other people know about Saiki's powers.
Right. But then also, she just straight up said, that's the name of my bow. Mm-hmm. Which...
Yeah.
Wait, so Saiki, you didn't contradict that.
Nope. Now, granted, Ira is very stubborn, so, you know, that would have, like...
But still. Even so.
So there is a misunderstanding where the grandma actually believes probably that they're in a relationship.
They're already dating, yeah.
And then with the grandpa, he's like, no,
she's wife material.
She's wife material. And yet he wasn't able to actually say that, which I love, because if he had said that and Terahashi heard it, she would have...
Terahashi would have like ascended more.
Exactly.
She'd sprout 8 wings and be like...
She actually would have, you know... Yep, the sky would have parted and everything. Like, so, you know... Keeping it to a reasonable level of stuff happening, you know, because otherwise...
Save stuff for future skits.
Exactly.
You know, future skits, yeah.
Right. But, okay. Yeah, Nendo ruining everything with the chocolate. Perfect, because of course he would.
Reita came so close to having a rewrite.
I gotta say...
I liked that the mangaka is so aware of this that he's like, yeah... I went back and studied Reita as a character and questioned his whole existence and why we even have him here.
Yep.
And then it's we could just do a forced rewrite through this janky thing here. No, that's kind of cheap.
We're not going to do that, but I understand that the one time that I would actually bring him in and have a skit about him is about how his shtick is just not very great. It's played out, and we're going to pretend that he's going to change, but no, of course he's not, and then we're going to throw him away again. You know? Yep.
Until we need to do this again.
Exactly. Right.
It's kind of the break in case of emergencies. You have a free skit chapter, you know, to just use.
Yep.
It also feels like the kind of thing that is what makes Saiki K as a manga probably pretty easy to do and also pretty hard, is that every once in a while you're like, okay, what character hasn't been okay, I'm going to do a chapter based on them.
Sure.
And you can do that a lot, but you can't do that over and over and over again. Every once in a while you need to have a part 1, part 2 thing here where there's wait a minute, what's an ongoing plot line that needs to have some follow-up? Exactly. Oh, the Chio Kaido relationship.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'll revisit that. And I think that's what makes Saiki K special as a comedy, is that every once in a while we get these little linear continuations of storylines like that. And it's like, oh, sweet. Does it all get reset back to the original spot? Kinda. But
there is some slight changes. You know, it's the kind of things where then Saiki's like, okay, I can share, you know, or like the bit with the coffee jelly. I forget the details of that scene where it's like, okay, it's all right. These people are fine. These people are pretty cool.
And that's basically the episode. Pretty solid one, but also just really really sweet.
Yes,
I like
surprisingly so.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it when anime, you know, go for the silly angle, but then sort of slide that extra bit in there, you know. And I feel like this episode was a great example of that.
Yeah, the press club. Who cares? Whatever.
I mean, who cares? But I did like the idea of like, yes, trying to predict like, okay, they're like gonna try and set up this terrible picture with Terahashi, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, and then sure enough, the water is just perfectly like, you know, going everywhere, and the lights behind it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But all right, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access. You can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yes, if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
Next time.